A cable review? Really? Well, here's something you might not realize. Not all USB-C cables are created equal. Despite this universal port's convenience, you could easily be using a cable that functions but delivers significantly slower speeds than your drive is capable of. Enter iodyne's USB4 Thunderbolt Pro Cables, promising optimal performance regardless of what device you connect. We've put them through rigorous testing to determine if they truly deliver on this promise.
You're watching CineD, supported by B&H and CVP.
Now, if you're anything like me, you possess something like this box. These are USB-C and USB-A connector cables separated from their original hard disks and SSDs, and I've typically grabbed whatever cable was convenient when I needed to connect a drive. That is, until I discovered the substantial difference that the right cable can actually make. But let me explain from the beginning. Now, you might recognize iodyne from our previous review of their Pro Data, the literally fastest Thunderbolt storage available in the world, designed for collaboration with hardware RAID 6 configuration and encryption, clearly engineered for professional applications with premium pricing to match. Now, interestingly, they've now ventured into the cable market, which proves more fascinating than it initially sounds. Why? Well, unlike most manufacturers, cables aren't an afterthought for iodyne. This becomes evident when examining their cable length options. While they offer standard lengths like a 0.3 and a 1 meter passive cable similar to their competitors, things get interesting with their 2 meter and especially 5 meter USB 4 Thunderbolt cable, a length exclusive to iodyne in the current market. 5 meters is simply massive for a cable like that. Both of these cables, the 2 and the 5 meter, are active optical cables, opening numerous possibilities. For instance, I have several noisy SSD and HDD RAIDs that distract me during editing sessions next to my desk. With conventional Thunderbolt cable lengths of 1 to 1.5 meters, positioning options are very limited. However, a 5 meter cable would allow me to install the RAID in an adjacent room by simply drilling through a wall, eliminating the distraction entirely. I can even daisy chain multiple RAIDs and access them all through a single cable. Very neat. Now, for NAS devices with Thunderbolt connectivity, this cable enables maximum speed connections to your primary workstation without requiring specialized fiber networking hardware. I particularly appreciate the braided construction of these cables instead of the typical plastic covering. Especially the 2 optical cables are extremely flexible, and that is really a crucial feature. Now, that's not something you would come to expect from an optical cable, but it's simply the case. You can really bend them around. They seem to be very sturdy, and quality seems very high. Now, of course, only extended use will confirm their longevity, but it seems like they can really take a beating. As just mentioned, both the 2 meter and the 5 meter variants utilize active optical technology. Looking forward, I really hope they will eventually introduce a 10 meter option, further enhancing workstation placement flexibility relative to storage systems. Now, alternatively, these cables excel at connecting high-resolution displays across rooms while simultaneously powering your computer. You could have your desktop monitor connected via HDMI while using the extended iodyne Thunderbolt cable to connect a wall-mounted high-resolution television with your MacBook charging through the same cable, eliminating the need for separate power connections. I also tested connecting iPhones to external SSDs via these cables for ProRes video recording in Apple Log. Now, this setup works perfectly for tripod-mounted phone recording, for example, without needing to physically attach the SSD to your device. And also the 2 and 5 meter versions of these cables worked perfectly. I'm impressed that sufficient power transfers through this extended cable to support full quality 4K ProRes HQ with up to 60 frames per second with 0 dropped frames during testing. Now for the critical aspect, performance testing of these cables. This proved a bit more complex than initially anticipated. Our studio's fastest storage devices include a compact G-Drive Mobile Pro SSD 1TB and a G-Speed Shuttle SSD 6TB Thunderbolt 3 RAID configured in RAID 0. Now, contrary to expectations, the single G-Drive Mobile Pro SSD outperformed the RAID 0 configuration, so we focused our comparative testing there. We evaluated a shorter iodyne cable against their 5-meter cable and a generic unbranded Thunderbolt cable. Remarkably, this extended 5-meter active optical iodyne cable delivered identical performance to its shorter passive counterpart. Multiple benchmark tests using AGA speed test on an M2 Max MacBook Pro yielded maximum write speeds of approximately 2160 megabytes per second and read speeds of around 2650 megabytes per second with the G-Drive Mobile Pro SSD. In contrast, the generic unbranded Thunderbolt cable averaged about 700 to 800 megabytes per second lower for both read and write speeds. Now, these significant differences demonstrate the profound impact your choice of cable actually has on drive performance. Iodyne also again loaned us a ProData 24TB unit for testing those sustained maximum transfer rates. Using our in-house SSD and RAID solutions that I mentioned before, we were simply not able to max out the capacity of these cables. While many SSD devices achieve impressive initial speeds that quickly taper off, premium solutions like the ProData, they maintain really consistent high-speed performance for both reading and writing over extended periods of time. Using the longer cables, I achieved sustained write speeds approaching 2000 megabytes per second and read speeds of up to 3.5 and 5000 megabytes per second, depending on the benchmarking software employed. These speeds can only be achieved by using multipathing, that is, connecting two of their cables at once, which is something amazing that the ProData allows for. We also cross-referenced the results from the different speed testing apps, namely AGA Speed Test, Blackmagic Disk Speed Test and Addo Disk Benchmark, with variations occurring due to different measurement methodologies. What remains clear is that the ProData hardware most effectively leverages the bandwidth capabilities of these Iodyne Pro cables. So you might ask, what's my ultimate conclusion from this cable evaluation? Well, it convinces me to discard this collection and exclusively carry these premium cables when connecting any USB-C device, not just Thunderbolt compatible ones, to ensure I'm never compromising transfer speeds with substandard cables. I strongly recommend evaluating your current cable situation and considering an upgrade to iodyne Thunderbolt cables if you value efficiency as much as I do. Fortunately, quality cables represent a relatively modest investment, even premium options like iodyne Pro cables. Thanks for watching and stay connected with CineD for more in-depth reviews like this one.